Every year, over 30 million Americans pack up their lives and move somewhere new. Fresh start, lower cost of living, better opportunities. That's the dream they're sold. But here's what the real estate agents won't tell you. Some of these places aren't affordable because they're hidden gems. They're affordable because they're hidden disasters. We're talking about towns where the median home price is suspiciously low, where crime rates read like typos, and where the local economy is held together by duct tape and federal grants that stopped coming in 2009. Places that look peaceful on Zillow but feel apocalyptic by month 2. One town on this list literally can't stop sinking. Another has been on fire underground for over 60 years. Today, we're breaking down 15 places in America that are not worth the risk in 2026. Some made the list because their economies collapsed and never recovered. Others because the crime is so bad even the criminals are looking for safer neighborhoods. And trust me, by the time we hit number 1, you'll understand why some places stay cheap forever. Think you know which towns to avoid? Cool. Let's ruin that confidence with facts, statistics, and stories from people who learned the hard way. Subscribe if you like avoiding life-altering mistakes before breakfast. Or don't, but just know your neighbor did, and now they're not trapped in a place where gunshots are the neighborhood alarm clock. Let's break it down. Number 15, Bessemer, Alabama. There's a city in Alabama where the steel mills closed decades ago, but somehow the pollution stayed. Welcome to Bessemer, where the American dream went to retire early and never came back. Bessemer sits just southwest of Birmingham, close enough to see the big city lights, far enough to feel completely forgotten. This used to be a booming steel town, jobs, growth, optimism. But then the mills shut down, the jobs evaporated, and what's left is a place that looks like someone hit pause in 1987 and walked away. Median household income, approximately $32,000. That's less than half the national average. Poverty rate hovering around 30%, and the median home price around $85,000, which sounds like a steal until you realize it's priced that way because nobody's buying. The job market is a wasteland. Unless you're working retail, fast food, or driving for DoorDash in neighborhoods where even the GPS says turnaround, options are thin. A local Redditor put it perfectly. Bessemer is what happens when a town loses its purpose but forgets to tell the residents. You wake up on a humid Alabama morning. The air is thick, smells faintly industrial. You step outside and your neighbor waves. Genuinely nice people here, that's real. But then you remember you're paying $900 a month to live somewhere that Google Maps still thinks is developing. You drive past 3 boarded up storefronts, a church with a handwritten God bless sign, and a gas station where the price board hasn't been updated in years. Bessemer isn't evil, it's just exhausted. And if you think a former steel town with economic depression is rough, wait till you see the next place, where breathing the air feels like a lifestyle choice you'll regret. Number 14, Mendota, California. Mendota, California calls itself the cantaloupe capital of the world, which is adorable until you realize that's literally all they have. No backup plan, just melons and hope. Here's what they don't advertise. Unemployment rate hitting 20% plus during off seasons. The median household income sits around $26,000, one of the lowest in California. And in a state where rent in San Francisco costs $3,000 a month, Mendota's $800 rent sounds like a bargain until you realize there's nowhere to work. But the real killer? The air quality is among the worst in the nation. Agricultural dust, pesticides, and vehicle emissions just sit in the valley like a toxic blanket. Summers regularly hit 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's no escape. Just heat, dust, and the faint smell of fertilizer. Schools? Test scores rank in the bottom 10% statewide. Healthcare access? The nearest full hospital is 30 minutes away, and that's if traffic cooperates. A comment from a local: Mendota is peaceful if you don't need money, healthcare, or breathable air. So basically, it's perfect for no one. Mendota doesn't have summer, it has punishment season. You walk outside and the heat slaps you like it's got a personal vendetta. Your car becomes a kiln. Living here is financially brutal. Sure, housing is cheap, but wages are cheaper. You're stuck in a cycle of low pay, limited opportunity, and California state taxes that don't care your town forgot to build an economy. 6 a.m. wake up because that's the only bearable hour. You sip lukewarm coffee on a porch overlooking fields. Just fields. Brown, flat, endless. It's quiet, but it's the kind of quiet that makes you question every life choice. And if you think relying on cantaloupe is shaky, the next town's crime rate makes produce look profitable. Number 13, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Pine Bluff, Arkansas used to be a manufacturing hub. Now it's mostly known for showing up on most dangerous cities lists with alarming consistency. Let me hit you with the numbers first. Violent crime rate, 250% higher than the national average. 250%. Pine Bluff consistently ranks in the top 10 most dangerous cities in America. Your odds of being a victim of crime here are 1 in 15. We're talking about a city where homicides, aggravated assaults, and armed robberies are woven into daily life. In a city of just 40,000 people, there were over 20 murders in 2023 alone. Gangs operate openly. Drug trafficking is rampant. Shootings happen in broad daylight in residential neighborhoods. Property crime is equally nightmarish. Your odds of having something stolen are 1 in 12. People don't just lock their car doors here. They remove steering wheels, disconnect batteries, and pray. The economic collapse fed this crisis. Population dropped from over 57,000 in 1980 to around 40,000 today. Median household income, $34,000. Poverty rate, over 26%. The job market collapsed when manufacturers left. A local wrote online, "I was born here, raised here, and love the people. But I tell my kids, get out. There's nothing left." Living in Pine Bluff means constant vigilance. You lock everything. You avoid certain areas entirely. And emotionally, it's draining. A warm summer evening. The air is humid, alive with cicadas. You sit on your porch. Your neighbor grills something that smells amazing. Kids ride bikes down the street. For a moment, it feels normal. Then sirens wail. Then closer. Then you remember why your doors have 3 locks. Pine Bluff isn't just statistically dangerous. It's emotionally exhausting to live somewhere that feels perpetually on the edge of violence. And if Pine Bluff's murder rate shocked you, wait until you see the next place, where environmental disaster meets collapse. Number 12, Picher, Oklahoma. There are bad places to live, and then there's Picher, Oklahoma, where the EPA literally paid people to leave and demolished the entire town. Picher isn't just declining, it's dead, officially evacuated, dissolved. Here's the nightmare. Lead and zinc mining from the 1900s to 1960s left massive chat piles, mountains of toxic mine waste, leaking heavy metals into soil, water, and air. By the early 2000s, 100% of children tested showed elevated lead levels. Every single child. The ground is so unstable it collapses into sinkholes without warning. Buildings fall into the earth. In 2006, the Army Corps of Engineers found that 90% of Picher buildings could collapse at any moment. Then in 2008, an EF4 tornado destroyed what was left. The EPA bought out nearly every property and bulldozed the town. Schools, gone. Post office, gone. The official population is now under 20 people. Holdouts living like post-apocalyptic hermits. You can't get utilities, water, gas, insurance, or a mortgage. It's not a town, it's a Superfund site. Air quality? Toxic dust blows constantly. Soil? Contaminated. Water? Unsafe. The chat piles still tower over the landscape, monuments to industrial devastation. A journalist visiting wrote, "It looks like the apocalypse already happened here, and even the zombies decided it wasn't worth it." Stepping into what used to be Picher. Cracked roads disappear into weeds. Rusted playground equipment sits in overgrown lots. A chat pile looms in the distance. The air smells metallic. Birds don't sing here. Nothing grows. It's silent in a way that feels wrong. The silence of a place that killed its own future. And if Picher represents environmental catastrophe, the next town represents what happens when violence becomes routine. Number 11, Camden, New Jersey. Camden, New Jersey has been called America's most dangerous city so many times, it might as well be the unofficial slogan. Let's get into the numbers. Camden's violent crime rate has historically been among the highest in the nation. At its peak in 2012, Camden had 67 homicides in a city of 77,000 people, a murder rate of 87 per 100,000 residents. That's nearly 20 times the national average. While reforms have brought numbers down slightly, Camden's crime remains extraordinarily high. Shootings are frequent. Aggravated assaults happen daily. Carjackings are so common they barely make the news. Drug trade operates openly. Entire neighborhoods are controlled by gangs. Robbery? Your odds are 1 in 71. Property crime? 1 in 23 chance of being a victim. Car break-ins, home invasions, theft? It's ambient noise. Here's what makes Camden uniquely tragic. It sits directly across the Delaware River from Philadelphia. You can see a functioning city from Camden's Stockton's waterfront. But crossing that river is crossing into a different reality. The economic devastation fuels the violence. Population dropped from 125,000 in 1950 to around 71,000 today. Poverty rate, 36%. Median household income, $27,000. The job market barely exists. Schools are among the worst in New Jersey. Graduation rates hover around 60%. Kids grow up where violence is normalized and escape seems impossible. A journalist wrote, "It's not that Camden forgot the American dream. The American dream evicted Camden and changed the locks. Living in Camden means danger is your baseline. You hear gunshots regularly, so regularly you stop flinching. Sirens are constant white noise. You don't walk at night. You teach your children to hit the ground when they hear pops. That's not paranoia. That's parenting. You're walking to your car in broad daylight. Kids play in fire hydrant spray. It feels almost normal. Then you turn a corner and see 3 guys in hoodies eyeing you. Your heart rate spikes. You walk faster. You make it to your car, lock the doors before starting the engine. That's Camden. Moments of normalcy shattered by visceral fear. And if Camden's violence was shocking, the next place combines danger with California cost of living. Number 10, Stockton, California. Stockton is California's bankruptcy capital. In 2012, it became the largest U.S. city to file for bankruptcy, and while it's technically recovered financially, the crime runs deep. Crime defines Stockton. Violent crime rate, 123% higher than the national average. Stockton's murder rate consistently ranks among the highest in California. In 2023, Stockton had over 50 homicides in a city of 320,000. That's a murder rate of about 16 per 100,000, 3 times the national average. Gang activity is rampant. Stockton is a battleground for various gangs fighting for territory and drug trade control. Innocent people get caught in crossfire. Kids walk to school past memorials for shooting victims. Property crime is epidemic. Your car will get broken into, not if, when. Catalytic converter theft is so common repair shops have waiting lists. Package theft is a sport. And here's the financial gut punch. Median home price has skyrocketed to $480,000 plus. Rent averages $1,800 a month, but median household income is only $66,000. You're paying Bay Area prices to live in a city that feels dangerous. The bankruptcy gutted city services. Police and fire departments were cut dramatically. Response times are dangerously long. When you call 911, you wait and pray. A longtime resident posted, "Stockton is what happens when a city goes bankrupt and realizes money was the only thing holding it together." Living in Stockton is cognitive dissonance. You're in California, land of opportunity, but your neighborhood feels dangerous. You paid $500,000 for a house where you hear gunshots weekly. You're loading groceries. It's Wednesday afternoon, broad daylight. You look up and see someone eyeing your car. You speed up, get in, lock the doors. Heart racing, you drive home, pull into your garage, hit the button to close it before getting out. This isn't paranoia. This is survival strategy. Your kids ask why they can't play outside. You explain again that it's not safe. They're 8 and 10, and they already know what gunshots sound like versus fireworks. Stockton charges California dream prices and delivers nightmare reality. And if Stockton is expensive violence, the next place takes it even further. Number 9, East St. Louis, Illinois. East St. Louis makes Camden look organized. This is the place that, statistically speaking, you should absolutely never move to. The crime statistics are jaw-dropping. Violent crime rates? Over 180 incidents per 10,000 residents. That's more than 7 times the national average. East St. Louis has one of the highest per capita murder rates in America. In a city of just 18,000 people, there are typically 20 to 30 plus murders annually. That's a murder rate of over 110 per 100,000 people. Some years it's exceeded 150 per 100,000. That's active conflict zone numbers. Shootings are daily. Aggravated assaults, armed robberies, carjackings, they're so common they barely register. Gang violence dominates entire neighborhoods. Turf wars play out in streets where children live. Property crime is equally horrific. Your car will be stolen or stripped. Houses get broken into repeatedly. Theft isn't opportunistic. opportunistic here. It's systematic. The police are understaffed and overwhelmed. Response times can be 45+ minutes or longer. In a city this violent, that's potentially deadly. Population collapsed from over 82,000 in 1950 to under 18,000 today. That's a 78% loss. Poverty rate, 37%. Median household income, $27,000. The job market is nearly non-existent. Schools are catastrophically failing. Buildings are literally falling apart. Test scores are among the lowest in Illinois. Graduation rates hover around 65%. Median home price, $42,000. You can buy a house for less than a used car, but you can't get insurance. Banks won't give mortgages. The city barely provides basic services. Abandoned buildings outnumber occupied ones. A social worker wrote, "East St. Louis is where policy failure becomes human tragedy. Living in East St. Louis means survival mode constantly. You don't just lock your doors, you barricade them. You don't go out after dark. You teach your kids to recognize gunshots and hit the ground immediately. Late afternoon, you're sitting on your porch because electricity is expensive. A kid rides a bike past. Someone's grilling. It almost feels peaceful. Then, pop, 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 pop. Everyone knows. People scatter. You hustle inside, bolt the door, get kids away from windows. Sirens, eventually. You check Facebook. Another shooting 3 blocks away. You exhale. 3 blocks is far enough this time. This is Tuesday. East St. Louis has sustained systematic violence that defines daily life. And if East St. Louis represents violence at its peak, the next place combines it with California prices. Number 8. San Bernardino, California. San Bernardino is proof you can have California sunshine, California cost of living, and Detroit-level violence all in one package. Crime is the headline. Violent crime rate, 91% higher than the national average. In 2023, there were over 50 murders in a city of 220,000. That's a murder rate of about 23 per 100,000, 5 times the national average. Gang activity is pervasive. Dozens of active gangs control different territories. Drive-bys, turf wars, retaliation shootings are regular. Innocent people get killed in crossfire. In 2021, a 5-year-old was shot and killed while riding in a car. Carjackings happen in broad daylight in shopping centers. Your car will get broken into repeatedly. Catalytic converter theft is epidemic. San Bernardino filed for bankruptcy in 2012, devastating city services. Police and fire departments were gutted. Response times are dangerously long, but you still pay California prices. Median home price? Around $380,000. Rent? $1,800 plus for a 2-bedroom, yet median household income is only $46,000, and poverty rate is 24%. Schools are failing. Test scores rank near the bottom statewide. Gang presence in schools is documented and real. Air quality is terrible. Summer heat regularly exceeds 105 degrees Fahrenheit. A former resident wrote, "San Bernardino is proof that location isn't everything. You can be an hour from the beach and still feel trapped in hell. Living here means constant compromise. You calculate risk for every errand. Which gas station is safer? What time is too late? Which neighborhoods to avoid entirely?" Your kids want to play outside. You say no. They ask why. You explain again that it's not safe. They're growing up afraid, hyper-aware, missing normal childhood freedom. You're driving home at dusk. The mountains are beautiful, genuinely stunning. The sunset paints the sky orange and pink. But you pass a liquor store with bars on windows, a vacant lot filled with trash, a mural dedicated to another young person killed by violence. Beauty and brutality coexist in a way that's uniquely tragic and exhausting. San Bernardino is expensive danger where you pay California prices for Mississippi services and Detroit violence. And if that's expensive danger, our next town delivers violence with historic weight. Number 7. Selma, Alabama. Selma carries profound historical weight. The 1965 Voting Rights March began here. The Edmund Pettus Bridge is iconic. But modern Selma is economic collapse and sustained crime. Population plummeted from 28,000 in 1980 to around 17,000 today. That's a 40% loss. But here's what defines Selma now. Crime. Violent crime rate is 84% higher than the national average. In a city of just 17,000, there were 10+ murders in 2023. That's a murder rate of nearly 60 per 100,000, 6 times the national average. Aggravated assaults, armed robberies, shootings are regular features. Gang activity drives violence. Drug trade fuels crime. The small police force is overwhelmed and underfunded. Property crime is rampant. Your home will be targeted eventually. Car break-ins are so common, people don't report them anymore. Economic devastation enables the crime. Median household income, $26,000. Poverty rate, 41%. The job market barely exists. tests. Schools are failing catastrophically. Graduation rates around 70%. Buildings are falling apart. Kids grow up where escaping seems impossible. Median home price $75,000. But wages are even cheaper. The tax base is so small the city struggles with basic services. A local educator wrote, "We teach kids to dream big, then watch them leave because there's nothing here." Living in Selma means navigating violence and poverty simultaneously. You lock everything, avoid certain areas, don't go out after dark. The psychological weight is crushing. You're living in a historically significant city abandoned economically. Tourists visit the bridge, take photos, and leave. That money doesn't help residents. Downtown Selma is eerie. Beautiful historic buildings, but half are empty, windows boarded up. It's like living in a museum of what used to be. A quiet Sunday morning, church bells ring, the Alabama River flows slowly, Spanish moss hangs from old oaks. It's picturesque, almost peaceful, but churches are the only things still full. Everything else, mostly empty. The beauty is haunted by absence. And then you remember last week's shooting 3 blocks away. Remember teaching kids to get down when they hear certain sounds? The history is profound, but the present is painful. And if Selma's combination of poverty and violence is bad, the next place adds environmental disaster. Number 6. Flint, Michigan. Flint's water crisis became national news in 2014. If you think it's fixed, you're dangerously naive. Flint still deals with poisoned infrastructure, economic devastation, and violence that never stopped. Between 2014 to 2015, Flint's water was contaminated with lead, poisoning tens of thousands, including thousands of children. The government knew and covered it up. People were told water was safe while it literally poisoned them. Pipes have been replaced, mostly, but trust is shattered. Many residents still don't drink tap water. They buy bottled water and live with the trauma of being poisoned by their own government. But here's what doesn't make headlines: the violence. Flint's violent crime rate is over 4 times the national average. Flint regularly ranks in the top 10 most dangerous cities in America. In 2023, Flint had over 40 homicides in a city of 81,000. That's approximately 50 per 100,000, 10 times the national average. Shootings are routine. Gang violence is significant. Property crime is equally bad. Your car will get broken into. Your catalytic converter will get stolen. Packages disappear seconds after delivery. The economic collapse enables this. Population dropped from 197,000 in 1960 to 81,000 today. That's 60% loss. GM gutted employment decades ago. Median household income, $31,000. Poverty rate, 38%. For young people, there's no future. Anyone with opportunity leaves. Schools are underfunded and underperforming. Buildings are falling apart. Mold closures, heating failures, crumbling infrastructure. Median home price, $48,000. You can buy a house for less than a new car, but you can't get clean water everyone trusts, you can't get safe streets, and property will never appreciate. A Flint resident wrote, "We didn't just lose clean water, we lost faith that anyone in power gives a damn if we live or die." Living in Flint means navigating multiple crises. You're dealing with water you don't trust, violence you can't escape, an economy that doesn't function. The psychological toll is immense. Residents were poisoned deliberately, lied to systematically, abandoned politically. That betrayal creates generational trauma. You're washing dishes with bottled water. In America, in 2026, you test your kids' blood lead levels annually. You think about leaving, but your house is worth $40,000 and you owe more. You're trapped. And the violence is background radiation. You hear gunshots and don't flinch. You know which blocks to avoid, which gas stations are safer. This is normal now. That's the most horrifying part. Late evening, your kids do homework at the table. It's a normal scene. Then pop, 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 pop. Everyone freezes. You count. 5 shots. Close. You usher kids away from windows. Your daughter, she's 9, asks if that was fireworks. You both know it wasn't. You say probably anyway. This is childhood in Flint. Flint failed years ago. People are still living in the wreckage, poisoned and afraid. And if Flint is poisoned infrastructure meets violence, our next entries get even worse. Number 5. Bakersfield, California. Bakersfield is California's dirty secret, a city with California's costs and almost none of its benefits. Air quality. Bakersfield consistently ranks as having the worst air quality in America. Particulate matter, ozone, smog, all trapped in the valley. It causes asthma in healthy people. Crime. Violent crime rate is 42% higher than the national average. Property crime is equally bad. Gang activity is routine. Cost of living. Median median home price is around $380,000. Rent averages $1,600 a month, but median household income is only $68,000. You're paying California prices but earning less and getting fewer services. Job market. Oil and agriculture dominate, both volatile. Little economic diversity, limited upward mobility. Heat. Summer temps regularly exceed 105 degrees Fahrenheit for weeks. With poor air quality, going outside feels like breathing through a wet blanket soaked in gasoline. Schools underperform statewide. Culture is lacking. More conservative, more isolated, less interesting. A transplant from LA wrote, "Bakersfield is where California dreams go to suffocate. Literally. Living here means health risks. Asthma, respiratory issues, and cancer rates are higher. Kids grow up with inhalers. You're paying for the privilege. Bakersfield summer is punishment. You step outside at 10 a.m. and it's already 95 degrees Fahrenheit. By 2 p.m., it's 110 degrees Fahrenheit. You run from AC to AC like it's survival. And the smell, oil fields, feedlots, dust, it's sensory assault. You're sitting in your backyard at dusk. The sky is hazy, not from sunset, but from smog. You can't see the mountains. Your throat feels scratchy. Your kids ask if they can play outside. You say no. Again. Bakersfield is proof you can live in California and still feel like you're in the wrong state. And if Bakersfield is bad air with California prices, the next place is worse in every category. Number 4. Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana used to be a steel powerhouse. Today, it's America's most visible urban ruin. Population collapsed from 178,000 in 1960 to around 69,000 today. That's 61% loss. When 2/3 of people leave, what's left isn't a city. It's a graveyard with a zip code. Crime is catastrophic. Violent crime rate 257% higher than the national average. Gary's murder rate regularly exceeds 60 per 100,000, more than 15 times the national average. In 2022, Gary had over 50 murders in a city of just 69,000. Shootings, carjackings, armed robberies, gang violence, it's all routine. The city has been called America's murder capital multiple times. The economic collapse is complete. Median household income, $32,000. Poverty rate, 33%. There's almost no job market. The steel mills are gone and nothing replaced them. Schools are among the worst in Indiana. Buildings are literally condemned. Graduation rates barely reach 50%. Infrastructure has collapsed. Streetlights don't work in large areas. Water mains break regularly. Abandoned buildings outnumber occupied ones. Median home price, $65,000, but many sell for under $10,000. Some are given away, but there's no reason to buy. No jobs, no services, no safety. A visitor wrote, "Gary looks like someone dropped a bomb and never cleaned up, except the bomb was economic policy. Living in Gary means danger is everywhere. You don't walk anywhere. You don't go out after dark. You heavily secure your home and still don't feel safe. The abandonment is stunning. Entire blocks are empty. Buildings collapsed or burned, lots overgrown. The famous City Methodist Church sits as a hollow ruin, windows broken, interior exposed. It's a monument to abandonment. Morning light through broken windows. Streets silent except for wind through empty structures. You drive through neighborhoods where every other house is vacant, burned, or collapsed. It's post-apocalyptic in a way that feels impossible in modern America. And if Gary is urban collapse and extreme violence, our next entry is literally uninhabitable. Number 3. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia isn't just a bad place to live. It's technically not a place to live at all. This is the town that's been on fire underground for over 60 years. In 1962, a coal seam beneath Centralia caught fire. The fire is still burning. It will burn for another 200 plus years. The ground is unstable, prone to sudden sinkholes. Toxic gases, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, vent from cracks. The air is poisonous. By the 1980s, the danger was undeniable. A 12-year-old boy nearly died when a sinkhole opened beneath him. Carbon monoxide levels in homes were life-threatening. The government bought out nearly all residents. The town was systematically demolished. Schools torn down. Homes demolished. The zip code was revoked in 2002. Current population under 10 people. Holdouts who refuse to leave, though they have no legal rights. They live in a town that officially doesn't exist, without services, without mail delivery. You can't get utilities, insurance, or emergency services. If something happens, you're on your own. The ground literally steams. Smoke rises from cracks. The abandoned highway is covered in graffiti and split by massive cracks from underground heat. Nothing thrives here. A journalist wrote, "Centralia feels like a preview of the end of the world. Quiet, toxic, and ignored. The fire can't be extinguished. It's too deep, too spread out. It will burn for centuries. Driving through what remains, cracked roads disappear into woods. Foundations mark where homes stood. The ground is warm beneath your feet, unsettlingly warm. Wisps of smoke rise from the earth. The air smells sulfurous. Birds are scarce. The silence is profound and eerie. The few remaining residents live in defiance of government, of logic, of safety. But it's like polishing the deck of a sinking ship. Centralia is the ultimate abandoned town, not by choice, but by necessity. The earth itself became uninhabitable. And if an underground fire sounds unique, our next entry shows complete abandonment. Number 2. Cairo, Illinois. Cairo sits where the Ohio and Mississippi rivers meet. It should be strategic, valuable. Instead, it's one of the most devastated small cities in America, a ghost town that technically still has people. Population collapsed from 15,200 in 1920 to under 1,700 today. That's an 89% loss. When 9 out of 10 people leave, you're looking at evacuation. What's left is apocalyptic. Median household income, $22,000. Poverty rate, over 40%. There are almost no jobs, no businesses, no services. Downtown Cairo is a museum of abandonment. Beautiful 19th century buildings, mansions, storefronts, churches, all empty, rotting in real time. Windows broken, roofs caved in, nature reclaiming structures. The city can barely function. Basic services are minimal. The hospital closed. The school district consolidated. Infrastructure is failing. Median home price? Under $30,000. You can buy a house for less than a used car. But why? There's no work, no services, no future. Levees protect Cairo from flooding, barely, but they're old and maintenance is expensive for a town with no tax base. A visitor wrote, "Driving through Cairo feels like accidentally entering a level you're not supposed to access. Eerie, empty, broken. Living in Cairo means isolation of the most profound kind. You're surrounded by evidence of a past that's gone and a present that barely exists. The abandonment is everywhere. Entire blocks are empty. Grand old homes, now hollow shells with trees growing through them. Schools that taught hundreds now sit silent. Stepping onto a cracked sidewalk, humid air, oppressive silence. No cars, no voices, just the river and maybe a dog barking blocks away. You look at beautiful architecture slowly decomposing. Graffiti marks walls that haven't seen paint in 40 years. And yet, someone still lives here. Cairo isn't dying, it's already dead. The body just hasn't stopped moving yet. And if Cairo represents complete abandonment, our final entry combines every problem into one perfect storm. Number 1. Imperial County, California. We've reached number 1, the perfect storm. Imperial County, California, specifically cities like El Centro, Calexico, and Brawley, combine economic devastation, environmental catastrophe, and quality of life issues so severe it makes everywhere else look manageable. Imperial County sits on the US-Mexico border in California's southeast corner. It's the state's poorest county. Unemployment, consistently California's highest, regularly exceeding 15%, sometimes hitting 20% plus seasonally. In El Centro, unemployment has peaked above 25%. 1 in 4 people can't find work. The jobs that exist are almost entirely agricultural, seasonal, low wage, exploitative. No career path, no upward mobility. Poverty rate, over 22% countywide, approaching 30% in some cities. Median household income, $48,000, insufficient given costs. The heat is life-threatening. Imperial County is one of the hottest places in America. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 115 degrees Fahrenheit. El Centro has recorded temperatures above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. A C isn't optional, it's survival. When a C fails, people die. Energy costs in summer are crushing. $400 plus monthly bills are normal. But the environmental disaster is the real horror. The Salton Sea, California's largest lake, sits in the county. Once a 1950s resort, it's now a toxic, shrinking catastrophe. The water is too saline for most life. The beaches are graveyards, fields of fish bones and bird carcasses. The smell is sulfurous, nauseating. As the lake shrinks, it exposes lakebed dust contaminated with decades of agricultural runoff. This dust contains pesticides, heavy metals, selenium, arsenic. The wind blows this dust into populated areas constantly. The health impacts are severe. Asthma rates in communities near the Salton Sea are among the highest in California. Kids grow up with chronic respiratory illness. It's called Salton Sea asthma. Air quality is among the worst in the nation even without the Salton Sea. Agricultural dust, vehicle emissions, and geography that traps pollution create toxic air year-round. Healthcare is severely limited. For specialized care, residents often drive 60-plus miles. In emergencies, that distance can be fatal. Water scarcity is looming. The Colorado River supplies the county, but it's over-allocated and shrinking due to climate change. Schools are underfunded and underperforming. Graduation rates lag. The brain drain is severe. Anyone with education leaves. Housing is cheap by California standards, median price around $280,000. But wages are so low, it's still unaffordable. You're buying into a county with no economic future and worsening conditions. A resident wrote, "Imperial County is what happens when everyone forgets a place exists except to drive through it. Living here means being trapped economically, environmentally, and geographically. The jobs don't pay enough to save or leave. The environment is making you sick. The heat is dangerous. The sense of abandonment is profound. The Salton Sea crisis has been known for decades. The government has done essentially nothing. It's a slow-motion catastrophe affecting tens of thousands, and it's been allowed to continue because the people affected are poor, largely immigrant communities without political power." 6 a.m., the only bearable hour. You're sitting outside. The sun rises over the desert, harsh but beautiful. The air is still cool, quiet, almost peaceful. Then the heat starts. By 9 a.m., it's oppressive. By noon, stepping outside is painful. The smell from the Salton Sea drifts in, sulfur and rot. You stay inside, watching the electric meter spin. Another $400 plus bill. Your kids come home from school coughing. Again. The nurse gave them breathing treatments. Again. You make an appointment, but it's a 2-week wait. You look at job postings, harvest work, retail 60 miles away. Nothing that pays enough to change anything. You're stuck. Everyone here is stuck. That's the cruelest part, the inevitability. Imperial County isn't just struggling, it's dying slowly while everyone watches and does nothing. The people here aren't failing, they're being failed. Systematically, generationally, deliberately. This is number one because it represents complete systemic failure. Economic systems that trap people in poverty. Environmental systems that poison communities. Political systems that ignore crises affecting the powerless. Imperial County is what happens when every problem compounds and no help comes. From Bessemer's economic collapse to Imperial County's perfect storm, from Pine Bluff's war zone violence to Flint's poisoned betrayal, these aren't just bad places. They're systematic failures with real people trapped inside. Like this video if you've almost made a terrible mistake and subscribe to avoid the next one.